I'm a big fan of when actors turn directors in their own projects. I love when a actor, and in this instance, Mark O'Brien. Ooh, let me just shift that over a little bit. I love when a actor stars in their own movie because it tells me that this movie is a passion project. Like, that's not just something you do simply to save money on a budget. And you're already pushing the budget. You could cut the character. You could find someone that's willing to work for scraps, or you find a character that you believe in and you star as that character. I think that resoundingly, even if the movie is pretty trash, I think resoundingly most actors that do that believe in the character, believe in the project, or believe in the message. And this movie, The Voices of Mother, stars Mark O'Brien, who you might recognize as the husband in Ready or Not Part 1. And he is, if this film says anything about him, is that he really does love character work. Because for an hour and a half, even though this is a horror film, an hour and a half, I'd say 70% of this movie is character study. Some parts are deep. Some parts are just skating the surface of something deep. But the performances in this movie are so good from the four main characters, because they're all supposed to be siblings. They're so good that I was kind of hooked for all the character moments. The story follows a group of siblings, right? 2 brothers, 2 sisters, who all come together reluctantly to look after mother who has fallen ill. Now, the debacle is our father was abusive, and she just stood there and watched. I mean, actively just stared. She never partook. She was never an active part of the abuse, but all she did was watch and stare. So in a lot of ways, she is as at fault as the dad. Word on the street is, though, that the dad was never like this up until he met their mom and had them. So was she the problem? That's what the movie gets into. But for most of this movie, when they pick up mom and figure out, well, are we going to drop her off at a home? Are we going to keep her in the hospital, or are we going to take her home and look after her ourselves? With that conundrum comes a lot of unresolved shit. It's like, why would we take care of someone who made our life a living hell? And these characters are so fucking flawed. I mean, they are so flawed. They all have their demons. They either deal with gambling, addiction, lies, maybe murder. Who knows? There's just so much in this film in terms of characters that kept me watching, because these performances are strong. The script isn't anything crazy, but the performances are strong. The horror element kicks in when they find out that what's wrong with Mother is much more akin to that of a possession film. Now, this does not do anything relatively new or exciting in terms of possession movies. As much as I wish every possession movie was grand and incredible, this movie is like bottom of the barrel in terms of demonic possession movie. So much so that they didn't play it straight. They didn't play it seriously. They went super hokey towards the end with seeing a demonic entity with wings. I mean, it's pretty hokey, but I chop that up to a budget issue. I genuinely do, because what this movie has in spades is tone and character, and that kept me watching, where I wasn't minding all the elements of horror that were kind of ass. Their mother is said to have dementia, or early signs of dementia. But according to the doctor, her blood work, her physiology is that of a child. Like, she is spunky. She's full of life. She's healthy, but she's not talking. She's staring off into the distance. What could be wrong? We all know it's possession. So all that out of the way, it's the character work and them being in a house where their mom is sleeping in the second floor, and they're just kind of downstairs drinking, talking, figuring shit out, trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do with mom? And everyone has a different perspective, what they should do. And that exploration, like all being under one building, like all being in the house, not having spoken for very long. One of them is a nun. The other one is he's a drug addict. The other one is kind of like this, he's like the money man, but is secretly broke. And then the other sister is very rebellious, and she's like the rebellious, edgy one. You have all the archetypes. You recognize these archetypes if you've seen The Haunting of Hill House, because literally in a group of siblings, there's these archetypes are always the thing. There's always the edgy one, the drug addict, the super pure one. That always exists. But I do like that they deconstruct these characters amongst themselves. Like they get physical, and it's just because they haven't seen each other in so long that you're wondering, well, what is this person going to admit next? What are they going to admit to? Holy shit, didn't see that coming. And it's constantly writing its characters into corners that would affect the other sibling, and they're confronting, and it's a very confrontational movie. Like it absolutely brings these characters to the forefront, and it becomes about everything except their mom. Even though the start of this is all because there is this held in build up, this resentment, this hatred that is seething from the inside out. And I thought that was really all good shit. Again, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I found really interesting doesn't get fully explored. The sense of guilt, the realization that their dad might have been all along influenced or manipulated by this entity that was inside the mom all along. The reason for having this entity, this demon, it's really pretty much Satan. The reason for having Satan inside of this woman's body is kind of stupid. It's kind of stupid, and maybe in execution it would have been better if they gave it more time to breathe. But how quickly we were shown why this is happening to her was really stupid. It was dumb. And granted, I don't think the horror was a point of this, but I kind of find myself then in a state of like, why paint it as a horror movie? This movie would have been even better if the horror was played very nuanced, very subtle, not giving you the answer, keeping it ambiguous, kind of like Relic. That was a great movie. Or The Dark Song, A Dark Song, like those movies where it's character studies slightly enhanced by the paranoia of a supernatural thing that is here seeding because of these feelings. And I feel like this movie was going for that, but every time it did something supernatural as hell, it lost me because I was just like, fuck that. Get me back to the characters and like their dynamics, like all the shit they're keeping away from each other for so long that they've lied about. Big secrets too. I mean, not little things, like genuine. It starts little, but the amount of secrets that these people are keeping, the amount of morally gray things to just straight up morally wrong. It's interesting to see all these characters, all these actors at the top of like their flow state, just acting against each other. And it does, because you're figuring this shit out with them. Like there's some shit in here that one sibling did to another. And two siblings did something to other siblings, and the whole time I was like, ain't no fucking way you did that, and you're not dead yet. There's just so much that really worked. The characters here work so good. But again, we scathe really important topics, and I think if we held back from the horror elements in this movie just a tad, and we also gave this movie 20 minutes longer of a runtime, then there would have been less of a rush to amplify this. One of my favorite movies, modern movies, one of my favorite horror movies is The Invitation. I think that movie is incredible, and it is such a slow burning stick of dynamite, but when it blows, it's impactful. It is a cathartic moment of violence in that third act that all builds up over one party. An hour and 48 minutes, I think. And it just builds up until you get to that third act. You're like, man, this movie should have gone down that route. And the cinematography in this movie, for the first 40 minutes, I was a little distracted because it felt like every shot was like a perfect picture frame, and distracted in a good way. I was like, man, you're really, like, the way that you present certain shots at the beginning really impressed me. For instance, there's like a shot where we switch to four frames, and each frame is just a mirror, and we're zooming in on one of the frames while one of the siblings is just staring off into the distance because she's disassociating. And while that's happening, you have the two other siblings cutting across the frame, speaking and yelling at each other, and their audio slowly becomes more muffled. And you're like, what a creative way to implement the sense of disassociation from this one particular character by making her the focus of this mirror frame, and then making the other characters be loud and in front of the frame, cutting back and forth, but their voices being muffled so that you can center in. It was just such a beautifully little small thing that he kept doing. He did that a lot with reflections, and just the way that he framed everything almost felt too perfect. And it felt like another reality. It felt like these characters are breaking down slowly, but first we have to meet them in a space where everything feels almost too perfect, too composed. And I love that. I really love the way that he pushed that sense of unease of the perfect frame slowly deteriorating as the movie moved forward. I thought that was really genius. And again, a small budget. This is the kind of shit that you do. You play with that kind of stuff. You play with framing, you play with audio, you play with characters. It's just the horror here sucks so bad. Nonetheless, I did not regret my time with it, but it's not one that I could be like, yo, go watch, recommend at all. Simply because if if you're going in for the horror, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're going in because you kind of want to see characters and you want to have that oomph of character surprising in consequence, because again, these characters are the highlight of this movie. My only real thing about it is if the movie had 20 minutes longer, we could explore more of these characters and go a little darker and take a little time, because these characters are good. Like, Mark O'Brien did a good job, and he was wonderful. He was my favorite character in the movie. So like, every character shines, every character is great, but unfortunately the horror, if you're here for it, is not going to hit at all, and the movie is a tad too short for the things that it's trying to explore. Nonetheless, that's my review for The Voices of Mother. Yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys showing up to another video, another review of me blab session. Anyway, that's it for me today. See you guys tomorrow with another review, and as always, I will see you